We're wait. There we are.
There we are.
Hi, everyone.
That's what you look like, Brandi.
Oh, shut up. You think you're so smart. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Live from the Edge, episode 6. And I am one of your hosts, Brandi Jackola. And with me, as always, is the wonderful, introduce yourself.
Bruce Gibson is here. Dun, dun, dun. Bruce Gibson is here. So this is always really weird because we always say like, oh, this is episode 6 of Live from the Edge, but we're covering episode 7 of Discovery. So
yes.
I don't want anybody to listen to a recording of this and say, oh, they're going to talk about Lethe. No, that was last week. No Lethe's on this one.
No more Lethe.
This is about episode 7, Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad.
Yes.
Which is actually a description of my life.
And it's also a quote from the Iliad.
Oh, we'll see. Once again, I learned from you.
Yes, and when I read the entire quote to you, you may know to what it refers in the episode. But the quote is, "There is the heat of love, the pulsing rush of longing, the lover's whisper, irresistible, magic to make the sanest man go mad."
Ooh.
So
that was really good.
Oh, thank you. I'm pretty sure that was basically referring to Stella.
Yes. Great audition. You got the part.
Yay!
Well, we have a guest with us today.
We do, a wonderful guest. Would you like to introduce yourself, wonderful guest?
Oh, I will. I'm Heather Barker. And I'm really excited to be here. I've popped in on some of the other Edge podcasts here on Trek FM, and I thought, well, hey, why not pop onto this one? You guys seem to have a lot of fun, so I wanted to have fun too.
Well, welcome to the fun house, or the jungle, or the fun house jungle, the jungle fun house. Anyway, yeah, we have fun on this show, don't we, Bruce? Don't we, Bruce?
If you say so, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Yes.
So, yes, we are talking tonight about episode 7 of Star Trek Discovery. And this was an interesting one that I feel kind of tipped the balance for some people. But let's just talk about our initial thoughts. Heather, why don't you go first?
So this is now my favorite episode. And a lot of people say, each episode is their favorite and it keeps getting better and better. And I agree with that somewhat, but up until now, I was really beholden to Context is for Kings. There was something about that episode that I just loved, not anymore. This episode was very different from what we've seen before. It spoke to me on a personal level, which I'll talk about sometime later in the podcast, but I'm in love with this episode. It kind of made me fall in love with Star Trek all over again.
Well, that's wonderful. Bruce, your thoughts?
Yeah. So, no, I love the episode. It's just, I think it's what I've been waiting for. I've heard some people refer to it as being a more light-hearted episode, and I think that's what I've been wanting, because I think that's the time when we really get to know the characters on a more relatable basis. I mean, when everything's like war and dark and everything's heavy and everybody's feelings, and I mean, we've got feelings in this about love and such, but I feel like there was a lot of chemistry between the crew. They seemed fun. The way I like to put it is, I'd want to hang out with these people. So every time I see a new Star Trek series, I'm like, is that someplace I would want to be? Do I want to be on Voyager? Would I want to be with these people? Do I want to be on Enterprise with Archer and them? And this time when I was watching Discovery, I'm like, yes, bring me to the disco. Let me hang out, especially with Stamets, because he's hilarious and fun. And I mean, they're all great. And I love this episode. It is my favorite for sure so far.
So far.
Brandi, what do you think? It doesn't sound like you're on the same page as us.
Oh, I'm totally on the same page as you guys. Are you kidding me?
Really?
It was great. I loved this episode, and there was so much for me to identify with. because I am basically what Michael was like at the party. That's me through all of my teenage and adult life as a single person. Now that I have a husband, I don't have to worry about that kind of crap. But yeah, that was me all the time. It's like, I don't know what to do. Am I supposed to talk to people? Do I have to talk to people? Maybe I should just go. So I could just totally identify with her in that so much. And overall, it brought me so much joy in so many ways. And, you know, we can talk about individual moments that we super loved as we go on, but overall.
So it was great joy and gratitude.
Great joy and gratitude. Great joy and gratitude. Okay, I'm going to stop doing that because it's going to get creepy.
It already is.
Yes, that's what I was going for. I love being the creepy girl. It's fun. All right, so let's get into the meat of the episode. So, of course, we see the return of one Harcourt Fenton Mudd, which we knew was coming. And the interesting thing that I first thought when we saw him and we realized that there was some time manipulation going on, I thought, well, how far from the future is he? How long did it take him to get off that Klingon prison ship? Because for all we know, he could have been on there for some time because he's obviously coming from the future. So weird. It's all quantum stuff going on there. But, and I really I loved the humor. I thought it worked so well. And that's the funny thing about actors doing a drama is people are like, oh, they're a dramatic actor. I didn't know they could do comedy. Yeah, it's actually easier to do drama. Comedy's hard. Comedy is really hard. And if you don't have the right timing, you're never going to have the right timing. And everybody was just spot on. It couldn't have been better, in my opinion. Everybody interacted beautifully. And yeah, I loved Tilly in that party scene. I loved kind of drunk Tilly. And my husband turned to me and said, is this before Synthahol? I'm like, yeah, pretty sure they got real liquor up in there. And good for them.
Yeah, I like drunk Tilly. She was pretty fun. Well, it's like, and I love the way she would play because she would say things and she's just like not looking at the person, looking off, like, I'm in some wonderland, and like, oh yeah, so cool, and whatever. And everybody looks like they're like making out with each other too at times. I mean, this is a very, very sexual crew in a sense.
Well, yeah. Well, considering the stress that they've been under for the last however long it's been since we actually got to Discovery, the ship.
Right.
I've
been stressed in these episodes. They've been heavy-handed episodes, and so that's why I wanted to be there. I'm ready to let loose with them and make out with someone. It's just that's what we need to be doing on Discovery.
And that's really what this episode was, right? It was a nice reprieve from all of those heavy episodes that we've had. And the first time that we actually get real disco on the disco.
Yes, with the lights and everything. It was so great. The flashing lights and the thump and beat. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of want to be at that party, even though it would just be awkward.
Yeah, it's classical music to them.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I wouldn't call it classical as much as I would call it classic.
Retro. I called it retro. It's retro. Party.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, they had some Al Green up in there. Yeah.
There was a good mix. There was a lot of different, there was Wyclef Jean, the Bee Gees, Al Green, and the music, if you listen to the lyrics, the music's, Staying Alive, it all kind of played in to the show, which I thought was fun. Other people apparently don't think it's that fun, but
I thought it was fun. Are other people just terrible, horrible, awful people?
I guess they prefer classical music. I don't know. There are people that are just going to they're going to nitpick everything they can. And that's not me. I thought it was really great. And I didn't find that any of that music took me out of the episode. Really nothing did. It was, we haven't quite seen a party like that. I mean, DS9, they have some fun parties, but we haven't seen a party quite like this. But it's a party that I would like to go to, and I thought that it was really neat to have pretty much an episodic show that was just all in its nice little bottle, right?
Yes, a bottle episode, which usually those are not necessarily good, but this one was. They knew how to do it right.
I just wish Lorca would have come down to the disco and danced his little Lorca butt off and just got
Lorca don't dance. Are you kidding me? Lorca don't dance. I did love him in one of the loops when Michael says that she thought she should be in the cargo bay for bringing aboard the space whale. And he's like, I don't give a damn. And then Tyler says, yeah, I think as chief of security, I should go too. I still don't give a damn. It's just, I loved that. It's just like, just do it. Just do it. So, yeah.
I like it when Saru corrects Lorca and says, well, technically it's not a fish. And Lorca just gives him a look like, give me a break. Just like, and Saru's like, oh, yeah, okay, whatever.
Space whale. Did anyone think of Andorians the first time that Harry Mudd came out of the space whale?
Yep. Yes. And you know what? Does anybody watch After Trek here?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I've been making a point to watch it because they put a ton of like fun little facts and stuff in the show. So getting past what hiccups it's had, I think it's valuable to watch it. And they mentioned that was intentional, and it was a reference to Journey to Babel, sorry, as a throwback to when an Orion was disguised as an Andorian. So it was kind of, here's Mudd in disguise as an Andorian. But I really liked him coming out of the creature. Like, I feel bad for the creature, right? But I thought that was a really fun entry. And I definitely thought the same thing when I saw the helmet.
Yeah, it was definitely unexpected because I was expecting maybe the creature to vomit something out. I did not suspect that a man was going to walk out of it or a humanoid. You couldn't really tell, but I mean, it had the body structure of a male humanoid. So I made that assumption, but yeah. Another thing that I really appreciated about this is the way they did the loops, because we see the first loop and then we jump ahead however many loops we don't know. There's at one point where it's been at like 56, 57 times that they've been through this loop. And because, Harry Mudd says, I've killed you this many times.
It wasn't 47, was it?
I don't think it was. It was in the 50s somewhere.
Okay.
I want to say it was like 56 or 57.
There was a 50 because my wife said to me, she said, wouldn't he be tired? Because that means he would have been up for like almost 30 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Well, time resets for him too. So but in his case, he remembers everything from the
right,
previous
but every
loop.
half hour for 57 times.
Maybe he took a nap that we don't know about.
Yeah, there could be a loop where he just took a nap.
Well, I wondered that too, because we do see him in the captain's chair eating a sandwich. Like, that's his dinner loop right there.
Yeah, that was the dinner loop. So, and the thing that I thought on the first loop, when Tyler and Michael are on the way to the bridge, and she literally runs into Stamets, and when we find out it's a true time loop, the ship blows up, etc., I thought, oh, Stamets is going to know this is happening because he exists on a quantum level now. And sure enough, Stamets knows that they're in a time loop. But that poor man, how much did he have to work? Yeah, he had to work harder than Harry Mudd to get to the resolution by far. Because how many loops did he spend just trying to get someone to believe him and not think he was just tripped out on mushrooms?
Right, or loopy. See what I did there?
He was acting kind of loopy, but I just am like, Stamets now knows much more about the universe than any other human alive, and he realizes that all this other stuff just doesn't matter, man. It doesn't matter in the big scheme of things. It doesn't matter. Why would you be sorry for this random thing that happened? And he hugs her.
I love it. I love it.
So great. I love that so much. And for a second, she's like, and then she puts her. I think that that Michael may be touch starved. I think she doesn't know how to handle physical touch anymore, which is another contributor to her awkwardness at the party. Because when people drink, that's actually depresses their nervous system. So they're not worried. They're not afraid. They're just having a good time. And they do things that they normally wouldn't do.
Right. Well, and I like the fact that when she's at the party, she's in full uniform, all buttoned up.
Yes. I laughed at that so hard. But then when you see Ash, he's in uniform too, although his jacket's unzipped.
Yeah, so he's, loosening it up like, hey, it's time to party. And Burnham's just like, I don't do small talk. I never understood it.
What was it? She made that quote about like still being the other, like she was a part of the crew, but was still alone or still the other. I should have written it down and I didn't. But I thought that was pretty interesting because I immediately thought of Spock as being the other. And I think a lot of people have approached Discovery thinking, well, who's the Spock here? Like, which one is the other? And quite frankly, I'm starting to feel like they're all a little bit of the other.
I was actually making this point to someone earlier today because I have always been what would probably be most easily termed as a misfit. And Discovery is an entire ship of misfits who have found a home with each other.
So are you finding then that you identify, like, do you identify most with Discovery as a series because of that? Or...
I think that has a big influence on my enjoyment of the series because there is a little bit in every single character that I can identify with.
Yeah.
Being afraid of everything, not knowing how to handle small talk, being an outcast, being different, not having friends, just all of those and a lot of other things that I'm not going to discuss on a live show. So every single main character that we have in that crew has a little something that I can identify with. And usually if I can find just one thing, it's great, but there's so many things for me. I'm just like, oh yeah, I feel you. I know how that is. Yes, Michael, just leave the party and go change into a dress or something and then come back. Or not even a dress per se, just,
something more casual.
Just cash, But I don't know that she has any casual clothes.
I don't think that she does.
I don't think she does either. She has like the uniform, she has her jammies, and she has like her disco shirt.
Yeah.
And that's it. But that's her workout gear. She's not going to come to a party in her workout gear.
Well, why would she go to a party in a uniform too? I mean, she doesn't have the appropriate clothes either way, right?
Because she doesn't know how to be at a party. She's never been at a party.
But not everybody was at the party. No. So I wonder why she went. I wonder if somebody convinced her, like, Tilly, you got to come.
Tilly. It was Tilly. We all know it was Tilly.
Yep. I would have liked to have seen that scene, actually, which that would have been fun to see, like, because we didn't get a cold open for the first time this season.
No, we didn't.
And I was like, whoa, okay. But that might have been kind of fun to see as part of the cold open. But I'm totally cool that it started the way that it did, because I think a lot of us that resonated with us. It's a party.
Well, the other thing I noticed, not only is there was no cold opening, and I'm a little slow when it comes to this, obviously, but this is the first time I really noticed that we never see the title of the show.
Yeah.
In the episode, I hadn't picked that up until this time.
Yeah, I miss it. I always love seeing that, because then I know that's just how I've learned Star Trek over all, the years, is that there's the title. Okay, that's what I'm watching. And every time I watch, whether I've seen it once or 5 times, I make a note of that. So I definitely miss it. And it's been fun when they mention the title in the episode. And they're not doing it every episode, so that's good, because then it might get to be a bit much. They got kind of close in this episode where Harry Mudd was starting to say something about magic, and I was like, oh, here we go, but he didn't actually say it, so that was cool.
Yeah, well, he probably was trying to, he's still, he's not really in love with Stella, because when Michael comes to confront him in one of the later loops, and you know, she talks about Stella, and he's like, "What? Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, everything I do is for her. She's the love of my life, and I lost her because of this." And yeah,
How did you guys feel about that last, not to skip to the end,
No, that's
but
okay.
how did you feel about that last episode with Stella and her father?
I was surprised how attractive I thought Stella was.
I was a little miffed that they made her a redhead, because people see.
Well, she was a redhead in the original series.
Yeah, but I mean, you didn't have to make her a redhead again, because unfortunately there is this stigma about redheaded women being
I gotcha.
bitches. I said it. Can't take it back now. Should have bleeped myself. But and that's kind of what Stella is. We know her in the future to, not be a very pleasant person. But then again, you have to think about how much of that is because of Harry.
Yeah. I felt that she at least showed a little bit of agency reining him in.
Indeed.
And didn't come off like totally you could tell the problem was with Mudd and not quite with her in this episode. Yeah. There was something about that scene that pulled me out of the episode a little bit. I don't have any recommendation on how I would like to have seen that scene done differently. But that was the only part of the episode that I didn't love.
I felt it was very TOS. It was a very original series resolution to something, and especially something that had built up so much over this time loop.
Yeah, and it was good. I mean, that's what makes it, a bottle episode or an episodic episode, and not part of the serialized arc, which was good. But I don't know what it was about that. I was just kind of like, okay.
I think because it does feel very TOS, it's not in the more modern Star Trek in a sense, I guess. But what I liked about it is, okay, this is what I really like about this episode. My 15-year-old, soon to be 16 in just a couple days, she's never really cared for Star Trek. She's never got into it, and she's slowly been like watching it with me. And as soon as I turned the episode on, she was in the kitchen and she made a beeline into the family room and sat down. And my wife's like, "Are you here to watch Star Trek?" She goes, "Yeah." And she watched the whole thing. And then she was asking about Stella. I'm like, "Oh yeah, she was in the original series episode." And we watched Mudd after that. And she watched it. I'm like, oh my gosh, now she watched the original series. This is the only time she's really watched Star Trek that wasn't JJ movie or a Tribbles episode.
That's awesome. And I'm hearing a lot of that with people that are already Trekkies bringing family members that previously didn't watch. They're watching it now. And that's just like the best news ever. I'm always happy when I see that. So yay.
Very, very cool.
Well, it's cool until if she becomes like a really big Trekkie and then she wants to go to STLV, it's going to cost me more.
Yep.
Yep. Well, we've got some comments in our YouTube chat, and Daniel, I'm sorry if I butcher your name, Daniel Bertazon. I think that's right. If it's wrong, please let me know. He says, "Do you remember the episode of TNG called Parallels? In that episode, Lieutenant Commander Data says that the universe fractures into other universes an infinite amount of times every second. So theoretically, every time Mudd destroys the Discovery, he creates an infinite number of universes where the Discovery was destroyed." And we know what that means. That means in these infinite universes, the Klingons won the war and conquered Earth. The Enterprise under Christopher Pike and Spock came back from their 5-year mission, and they will be greeted with a nasty surprise, a conquered Earth and a fleet of Klingon D7 warbirds waiting for them. But it's true. We talked about this because that's quantum physics right there. Every word out of my mouth is creating a new reality, and every word that I don't say is creating a new reality. It can get mind-boggling.
Yeah, that's where I just go back to, hey, it's television. I can't think too much about the show, and I really love that people do. I love all the fan theories, and that everyone's watching the episode and processing it and coming up with all this, because I'm not doing it. I'm just sitting down and watching the episode and then podcasting about it for a week later, right? But sometimes I just have to sit back and say, all right, it is science fiction. And I can't focus too much on the real science and where it may not be hitting the mark on real science. I think there was another issue with the dark matter that came up today, and how you can't really use dark matter in the way that they're using it in that episode. I don't remember all the specifics behind it and why it doesn't work that way, but I'm just like, hey, it's cool.
Here's my personal feeling on that. What we knew about physics 100 years ago compared to what we know now about physics, the difference is staggering. Mm-hmm. What else are we going to know about physics 100 years from now? Mm-hmm. How much are we going to find out that we were wrong about? Because we know about 4% of the universe. 4%. 4%. That's infinitesimal in the great scheme of things. So how do we know that dark matter can't be used that way?
Exactly.
How do we know?
Exactly. It's like, back in the old days, they'd say there's no way, it would be impossible for the earth to be round. It would just be impossible.
Yeah, and the sun goes around the earth. I mean, that's obviously what it is, and we're going to lock up this guy for the rest of his life because he said differently. Galileo. So
you can't always believe what you read here, fake news #. No, anyway.
No, don't read.
Well, so I thought at least that like the special effects for the black mat, the crystal stuff, or the little purple one, right? That was the crystal.
Yeah.
I thought that was really well done, and pretty crazy. It was, Burnham, even though she knew what was going to happen, she still sacrificed herself at that one point. And then ultimately she was sacrificing herself for the plan, which was a facade all along. Yes, I like the twist.
The twist was great. I knew that they had something up their sleeves. And would any of this have been possible without Stamets? No,
MVP.
It would not have been. Stamets gets MVP because he is the man.
It's just been so much fun, and I can't wait until the season is over, and then we go back and we think about all the things that we said. We watch the episode, we do a podcast, we say all these things. How much of that is going to be irrelevant? Because we met Stamets for the first time, and a lot of people were like, "Ugh, he's awful. I don't like him at all. Ugh." And now he's like this great, wonderful character that so many of us just completely fell in love with.
Because we had to get him high to make him somebody everybody loves. But I always felt like he was just kind of being reserved with Burnham, and that's the way he was, that he was probably a cool guy. It was just, he's very standoffish, like, okay, you got to prove yourself to me. And I think before he even got to the point where he started dipping into the mushrooms, where he started loosening up because he got really excited and stuff. So I think we're seeing more of the real Stamets. It's just helping that he's doing mushrooms at the same time.
He's doing something that he loves and is passionate about. And I am blessed to do that with my day job and with podcasting, and so that resonates deeply with me. Now I'm not like high on whatever, spores when I'm doing those things, but it you can see that passion, and I think that's a really great thing.
I agree. I actually liked Stamets from the start, and I felt that he was abrasive because he was in a situation he didn't want to be in. The Starfleet had basically co-opted his research, and he didn't want to be on Discovery. He didn't want to be in the war. He was a scientist, and as things go along, and he literally becomes part of his creation, and now he sees the universe completely differently in a way that no one else can. And so I don't really see it as him being high. I see it as him being in an altered state of reality.
Enlightened, transcendent.
Yes, all of those things.
Yeah.
All of those things.
It's really neat to see that. I feel like I'm trying to think back to when Kess was ascending or whatever in Voyager. I know she wasn't all like that. But yeah, I'm glad that we're all in the same camp on the OG Stamets, because I felt the exact same way. I liked him then. I thought he was just reserved. I didn't think he was overly mean or anything like that. And it's been really great getting to know him. And one of my favorite parts of this episode was the scene with Michael Burnham where they're dancing.
Yes.
And I tweeted it today because, we've got the very real fact that we have, our first gay couple on Star Trek. And the dialogue in that scene, though it really applies to everyone, love isn't logical, never hide who you are. Seeing our gay characters say that is just, I had to tweet it. I took screenshots and I tweeted it because just thank you to the writers, to everyone for having that representation there. It speaks volumes to those of us in that community. And I thought it was just such a poignant, wonderful, emotional moment between the two of them. Plus we got to learn the story between, what is it? Colmets now is the official
Colmets.
Yeah.
Yes,
Official
that's what they said on After
Yes.
Trek. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think in Twitterland we prefer like Space Boo or something.
Space Boo.
But
Oh,
it was really. I just thought that whole scene was so well done. It made me cry. It resonated so deeply with me, and regardless of any connotation it may have, it was just such a wonderful scene between the two of them. And then when they were holding hands, like when the loop was about to end and they're holding hands,
yeah. Representation matters.
mm-hmm.
It matters. One thing.
Well,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to get in with Stamets while we're still on it, because just
Yep.
tuned in says the more Stamets becomes unstable, the more likely it is that something happens that makes Federation decide the spore drive technology is not feasible and discontinues it, thus not seen in the future.
Yeah.
So Stamets the thing that makes it not viable in the future. We learn from that.
Well, and I wondered with the title of the episode, because I knew like Stamets was going to be featured in it, and I kind of wondered, like, is this actually him going mad? And really, I think that in context, the title of this episode can apply to several situations in the episode. Even maybe Burnham and Tyler. But I do wonder, like, what is going to happen with Stamets? Is he going to lose his mind at any point? And when will we ever see that strange reflection in the mirror again?
We probably will.
Yeah.
I don't think that they would put something like that in an episode for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
I am not at this point, I'm not certain it's necessarily going to have anything to do with a mirror universe, but it might, because what is a mirror universe? A mirrorverse?
That works.
What is a mirrorverse except another quantum reality?
Mm-hmm.
So, it wouldn't bother me, but just please don't do the same mirror universe as Deep Space Nine, please. Please. I don't want to go back there. I just don't. I did not enjoy any of those. Not any of them. I'm so sorry, Deep Space Nine. I loved everything else, but that just really sucked.
Did you like the mirror universe in Enterprise, in the Mirror Darkly?
Well, here's the thing. I don't remember that episode, and I'm still only in season 2 in my rewatch, so I'm getting there. But my guess is that I probably will like it, because I am just loving rewatching Enterprise. It has been a revelation, I guess is the best word for it. And just love it. And then when John Billingsley got on Twitter, I'm like, follow immediately.
Yay!
That guy is like one of the best Twitter follows you will ever have. Ever. Him, Anthony Rapp, Jason Isaacs.
Yeah.
Enough said. Said.
Yeah. I Anthony Rapp fans, I'm calling us the Shroom Army. Like hashtag Shroom Army.
Yes.
He's been amazing. So So what do you think about Tyler? Like, do you think Tyler is Vogue at this point? Because it's like, I don't want him to be. He's such a good guy.
I don't want him to be either, because I actually really love Ash Tyler.
We all do. There's a fan club now.
Yeah. He seems so, what's the word I'm looking for here? Without guile. And that's a rare thing. And I'm still looking at everything through the filter of what if he was Vogue, and it just breaks my heart if that's the direction they go. And it makes my heart hurt. It's like, I can't do that. I can't.
I've heard the fan theory that if he does turn out to be Vogue, then perhaps he will have, been with humans for so long, well, humans and others, that he will then defect to their side.
Well, my personal opinion is, and I said this during our discussion of Lethe, is that because Lethe refers to a Greek goddess, but also the river in the underworld that is the river of forgetfulness, and drinking from its waters will make you forget. Mm-hmm. What happened to Vogue when he went to these matriarchs? Mm-hmm. If Tyler is Vogue, he doesn't know it.
No. It's like the Manchurian candidate, right? I think at this point, most of us are believing that there's not a Vogue in him, that it's Ash Tyler. Perhaps Ash Tyler was the other guy on that Klingon prison ship that got his head bashed in. And so that's how that worked out. But I'm thinking the same. And quite honestly, like, I never really felt like Vogue was all that. He was no Takuvma. I'll put it that way. Like,
that's true. Yeah.
I mean, you stuck your hand in the flames, but like when he was with L'Rell, I made a comparison over in our Disco Trek podcast, and I'm something about that scene with Vogue and L'Rell reminded me of Ram and Lita. I don't know what it was. There was just something about the way that he looked at her that was just kind of like like he was fascinated by her. But I guess I felt like a tenderness there between the two of them in that moment. And so believing that Vogue is really, this hardcore, bloodthirsty, remain Klingon just does not quite set with me.
Well, and if that is the case, that Tyler is Vogue and he doesn't remember, what's going to happen to Vogue when he realizes he's been masquerading as a human this whole time, mm-hmm. and having good relationships with humans and falling in love? And how much is he going to hate himself? So I really just hope that is not what's happening, because I want to keep Ash Tyler.
I want to keep him too. I guess my thought is I don't want him to become Vogue because it just seems too obvious. Mm-hmm. Everybody's thinking that. Yeah. It's like, and then when it comes, we're all going to be like, yeah, well, we saw that coming. We've known that the whole season, and they're acting like it's a surprise. Like, to me, I don't know. I feel like they're trying to throw us off on something. And I'm looking at here in the comments too. Like Ion Tron says, or Tron says, also, if he was Vogue, wouldn't he help Mudd give the discovery to the Klingons? I mean, that would have been his great opportunity to accomplish his mission, unless he doesn't know, like we're saying. I mean, I've seen some comments there too that he may be, a sleeper agent. That's what Neo Star 9 is saying, and he doesn't even know that he's Vogue.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the only possible way that at this point that he could be Vogue. There is no way in any sense of the imagination of this particular series that he could be Vogue and know he's Vogue and be carrying this off as Ash Tyler. There's no way.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. I'm like I said, there's all these little are fun, conspiracy theories or what's going on, and like little ends that haven't been tied up that will be tied up. So it's so exciting, guys.
It is, because I really feel like these things are going to have answers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like they're setting these things up to pay them off later, mm-hmm. Maybe in ways that we don't expect, but I don't think that they're just doing things for the sake of doing them. Lost. Heroes. Excuse me.
What do the numbers mean?
Oh God.
Look, I'll be honest with you. I watched half of the first episode of Lost, and when the plane crashed, I said, they're all dead. I worked for an airline for 4 years, and I know what's survivable and what's not. And that plane crash was not survivable. Very few plane crashes are. So I'm just like, oh, they're all dead. Well, I don't need to watch this. Click. Oh, I'm sorry. Spoiler if you haven't seen Lost a million years ago.
They're not dead. There you go. So I'm looking here on Twitter, and we have at Holbach R. Renee has tweeted 4 tweets to us, all one thing here, saying one of my favorite bits from this episode was the story about how Kober and Stamets met. This seems to be a pretty clear nod to the novel Master and Commander by Patrick O'Brian, the source of the movie with Russell Crowe. In the book, the 2 main characters become besties after almost getting into a fight with one another. After almost getting into a fight after one of them hums and taps his foot out of time at a concert, setting up a friendship formed on the basis of canon that would go on to span 21 novels.
Wow.
I haven't read Master and Commander. I've heard of it. I'm familiar somewhat with it, and I've seen the movie. But yeah, maybe that's where that idea came from.
Yeah, I've seen the movie forever ago when it came out. I've never read the novels, but I like it. Sounds good.
I worked at a bookstore when the movie.
When you were working at the airline?
No, this was after the airline. Gosh.
Brandi, have you worked everywhere?
Yes, I have worked everywhere. It's easier to tell you where I haven't worked. Okay. But yeah, I remember when the book version of, the movie version cover of the first novel came out, and I'm like, oh great, now I have to find another space to face these out. Thank you. Great. So that's basically my experience with Master and Commander.
Oh no.
I don't have enough of these books on the shelf already. Where am I going to put another facing? Ugh.
Perhaps we have some kind of like literary Treks tie-in where they read that and then comment, like come back and comment on Discovery.
All 21 novels. You have to read all 21.
All 21.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
We'll have to do that in literary Treks. Do all 21 novels.
Yeah.
Don't. Because sometimes when you do that kind of undertaking, if you're doing it specifically to talk about it on a show, it might, with that many novels, start to feel like a chore rather than a pleasure. And we wouldn't want that for you.
No.
I read a lot of Star Trek novels for literary Treks, and it still does not feel like a chore. Just saying.
Well, that's because they're Star Trek novels. 21 sequential novels for Master and Commander might do you in if you had to read them. But if you want to read them, that's a different story. I
could read them if I had a time crystal.
Yes, you could, even if the loop was only 30 minutes, man. Take a few nap loops, take a few eating loops.
Oh, and that's one thing I wanted to talk about earlier when we're talking about, like, because there was a comment about it creating different dimensions in the chat when Daniel was saying this, and the infinite universes. And I was wondering, I was thinking that as this crystal was working, it was only changing, it was repeating time within a certain diameter of where they were in space. So it wasn't the whole universe of, like, the rest of us are moving forward through time. Just that sector of space was repeating itself.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it would therefore not creating other universes because it's self-contained within a universe.
Yeah, that could very well be it, because everyone else was reliving the same day except for Harry Mudd and Stamets. They were the only 2 people that knew what was going on because they both existed outside the time loop. So
that's true. Yes. So, this is where we need Ethan Siegel on, who wrote the book Treknology. And if you want to hear more about that, tune to Literary Treks episode 208.
Thank you. Write that down. 208.
We had him on talking science. Anyway. That's my little plug. That's what we do on show.
Science is fun. I love
Let's just dance with me for science. Right?
Yes.
I
love that.
I really love that despite this being a time loop episode, I never got bored.
Exactly. We saw so many different things happen. We didn't see the same events over and over again. Something different happened every single time, and they kept it completely interesting. They kept us enthralled every second.
Yeah. And it was nice not to be bored.
Yeah, like that one TNG episode.
Oh yeah, that one.
There is the theory of the Mobius, where time becomes a loop. That was actually sampled on a song that I have by a band called Orbital, and then the time becomes a loop thing becomes a loop in the song.
That's funny. That's funny.
So, but yeah, because that episode, yes, they tried to do different things a little bit every time, but you kept seeing the same events over and over again, and maybe not in their entirety. But it got to about halfway through the episode where I'm like, oh, I don't want to see them playing poker one more time.
Yeah, especially if you watch the episode several times.
Yeah.
So, which is, this was kind of a homage to that as well. But they did it in a way that was way more interesting. And yeah, because basically Groundhog Day took that idea and ran with it. Yeah. And that one started to get tedious. But then when he was coming up with all the different ways of trying to kill himself to end the loop, all of these things, it got really inventive. And then he decides, oh, I'm going to learn piano for an hour a day. For how many loops until I could just play like a master? Do you know how long that would take? Because I took piano. I know.
At least it's a positive use of time. I've heard some pushback today about the fact that Harry Mudd is now technically a murderer.
Well, what's wrong with that anyway?
He's a despicable human being.
He's not a murderer within the existing timeline, though.
Yeah, and I didn't get too much. I tend not to get involved in those conversations, but I thought it was interesting. I think that they're feeling that it's taking away from the comedic, I don't want to say legend, but the TOS Mudd and the TAS Mudd were not quite as dark, and that it kind of takes away from the lightheartedness of the character.
Yeah, but I guess now here's the thing. So I don't know if Harry Mudd would kill someone had he not known that history is just going to be wiped away in 30 minutes. I mean, this is not a grotesque way of killing. He's using, laser guns that just evaporate people. And so I think he just feels like, oh, I can go around and shoot everybody, but they're all going to come back to life anyway. And I'm just saying, if you knew that time was going to repeat every 30 minutes, you would probably do things. I'm not saying kill, but you would probably do things that are out of character that you normally wouldn't do, that you would say, I would never really do this in real life, but I'm going to take a shot at it. I didn't mean that literally.
I have a personal example of why that is not true for me at all. But here's the thing about Harry Mudd in the original series. He's basically a sex trafficker. Why?
But he doesn't kill anybody.
Funny? Yeah.
But he's not a murderer.
Yeah.
You're right. I don't find him to be, he can be comedic, but he's not a funny character.
No, he's not, and I prefer.
So many people see him as that way. Like it's so interesting to me, because a lot of women are not fans of Mudd, right? For the reason that we've just pointed out. But
Who is a fan of Mudd? I don't know if anybody...
there are so many people, and I think, I had kind of thought that was a reason that they brought this character back. Was because so many people enjoy this character so much. I was not completely completely opposed to seeing the character again, and I think that Rainn Wilson has done a really great job with the character. And according to a Twitter poll I did the first time we saw him, people were people who had thought he was not going to do a good job or that weren't excited about him were impressed by his Harry Mudd. So that's a good thing. I'm really enjoying the character. Do you think that we're going to see him again?
Probably. Yeah. That's my guess. But okay, so here's why I think that not everyone would just take advantage of a situation where time is going to reset. Okay, so the first time I realized this, I was playing a video game called Dead Rising, where a zombie apocalypse happens in a mall. And you're playing a reporter, and basically you can fight the zombies, but that's not the only reason you're there. You're trying to figure out the mystery of why this outbreak happened. And you also can pick up survivors and bring them back to the safe house on the way. Now, you also have the option of just killing the survivors because their AI were very, very stupid, and they kept getting stuck around corners and all of this crap. And especially there's one where you can have like 8 survivors trailing you back to the safe house, and getting them all there without dying is a chore. I tried one time to just kill all the survivors, and I could not do it. I did it once, and I felt sick to my stomach. It was a video game, and I could not do it.
But Mudd could.
But Mudd absolutely could, because he is a despicable human being.
He is despicable.
Completely despicable. You love to hate him.
I guess that's why he's so popular. I do have to confess, I really loved when he called Captain Lorca mon capitaine. That was just like, oh man, that was such a good moment. I loved it. I didn't hear he was like ad-libbing a lot of that stuff, those name callings. I think he said on After Trek. Yeah, that they shot it so many different times. He was making up nicknames for like everyone. Like every time he would call somebody something, because he mentioned Saru also.
Whatever, yeah.
But yeah. And I don't think he specifically said, use that because, as a reference to Q or anything. Right. But it turned out really well. Whether it was intentional or not, it was fun to hear.
I agree. And I know Rainn Wilson is good at improvising, so I totally believe that he would have just come up with that for everybody, because it was fun. Mm-hmm. It's fun.
They have fun. They've always had fun on Star Trek, and it's just so great to see this cast. Who is it? Aaron Herberts and Ted Carter Hall, or Ted Sullivan, right? I'm getting like Twitter handles and names mixed up.
Yeah, I don't know.
Man, but they both have been posting some behind the scenes pictures, and it's just all, everybody having fun and laughing and smiling, and it's a lot of fun to see. So if people are on Twitter and not following them for some reason, you should go follow them. Follow them all.
I'm just reading in the chat, everybody's agreeing with what we're saying about Mudd, that he's despicable and he's not really that lovable. That he was despicable in the original series and in this too.
Well, I love it.
Well, see, and I grew up with the original series, and I did not like the Harry Mudd episodes. Even as a child, I knew he was despicable, even though I didn't know what that word was at the time. But I just knew he was a bad man. He was a bad man, and he got what he deserved. That was basically my opinion of Harry Mudd.
Despicable Me with minions. They should do a Star Trek episode with Mudd and his minions.
Oh, Lord, no.
Gosh.
No minions in Star Trek.
Speaking of creatures, we've had several creatures now in space.
Yeah. What is it called again? The Gorg?
The Gormagander.
The
Gormagander. We've had the tardigrade, and we've had the jellyfish.
Yeah, the corpusculans. That's true. The corpusculans were an alien. I was thinking we saw them in the prologue. Yes. Now we have space whales.
Yes. Everything is like a big ocean in space.
Space whales that apparently don't seek out their mates, and so they die lonely deaths or something.
Yes,
Very,
because they're too busy eating alpha particles in the solar winds.
yes, very on par, very, very reflective of Burnham herself.
It's actually just another thing for me to relate to is the awkwardness. It's like, oh, I was too busy eating this entire bag of Oreos to actually go out on a date. Sorry.
You lack the mating practices because you're too busy eating.
I love it.
Yeah, I did eat a whole bag of Oreos once. I did regret it later, but I was a teenager then, and nothing stayed on me as far
Oh my
as
gosh.
fat.
Teenagers. My daughter had a friend over and she came in and ate a half bag of our Oreos. And I told her she's not allowed to eat cookies again. Eat a whole half bag. Not in our house anymore.
Okay.
Because I don't want our Oreos gone.
That's true. It's like, get your own bag of Oreos.
Right. Have a few Oreos, but not eat half the bag at
That will
somebody's
be
house.
$5, please.
Yeah, Oreos are expensive.
They have apple pie or whatever Oreos this season
No.
and pumpkin
Just-
spice Oreos.
No, I'm so sick
Yeah.
of pumpkin spice. Now, don't get me wrong. I love pumpkin flavor, but I don't love it in everything. Please stop it. Please. Please.
So I think so aside from the fact that I didn't really love the Harry Mudd Stella scene, I did really love kind of how this episode ended, with Burnham doing her log and talking about change and saying sometimes the only way you find out where you fit in is to step out of the routine. Because sometimes where you really belong, wait, let me say that over. No, that was right. Because sometimes where you really belong was waiting right around the corner all along. It sounds a lot better when she says it. But it was kind of funny. Like I have something going on in my personal life that pertains to. So not only did I just really resonate with the Stamets and Burnham scene, but then the episode ended with something that spoke to me on a personal level. And I think that's a very large part of why this episode resonated so strongly with me. I was like, oh my gosh, Star Trek was just talking to me. Like that's such a great thing. And I think that's happened throughout the history of Star Trek. And that's one of the reasons that we love it so much. You know, we find that Star Trek is talking to us sometimes. And so I love that. I love the writing in all of these episodes. I think it's really phenomenal. So I like to give little shout outs to the writers.
And deservedly so.
Mm.
Because
Absolutely.
this episode was the bomb.
It was. I loved it. So I guess, yeah, we're at the end, so we'll wrap things up. I'll say what I say, and then Brandi can close us out with her thoughts. So I love the episode, as I said earlier. I agree with what you just said, Heather. I love seeing that this crew feels like a crew,
Mhm.
that they seem like they've bonded together, especially in this episode. Discovery is the name of the show, and we see that Burnham is discovering herself, and we've seen that in the last several episodes, which I guess is my only nitpick, not about this episode but the series so far. She seems to be learning a lot about herself, her past, about relationships, and I think, what was she doing for 7 years on the Shinju? Did she not learn anything there? Because she's learned a lot in a short period of time on Discovery. But no, I'll give them a pass on that. Maybe we'll find out more about that later. But yeah, I love the episode, and she got a kissing scene too, and she then doesn't remember she even kissed. So that's sad. But it was a fun episode, and I loved it, and I watched it twice already, and I guarantee I'm going to watch it again this week.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's now my favorite, and I don't go into each week thinking this one's going to be my favorite. I know it, but man, this one just struck a chord. Was beautifully done, had great special effects, great writing. Got to see a lot of the characters, even though it wasn't. Got a break from Lorca and Saru. I think we're going to get a really good Saru episode next week. But man, this is my Star Trek. I think I've decided, and I'm hesitant saying that, knowing that we still have so much to go, but there's something about this series and the fact that all of these characters are just, I see myself in them now. I see my imperfect self in these imperfect characters, and that's what makes it mine.
I couldn't have put it any better myself.
Exactly. And even Dana Pearson says, yep, you said it well. Trek is speaking to us.
Yes, it's talking to us. It's telling me, look, let go of all of those things that you thought were important when you were younger, and all of those people who were mean to you, and all of those times you felt like you were never going to find your place in life, because look where you are now. Look where you can still go. Mm-hmm. And I think for Michael, the reason that she was kind of, I wouldn't say stagnant per se, was because no one challenged her emotionally on the Shinzo. Mm-hmm. Maybe challenged her as far as her career, but I don't think anyone challenged her emotionally until she got to Discovery. And yes. Tilly started it. Mm-hmm. Tilly was the one who started it. Redheads rule.
You called it. So. Also, check out, Brandi, what Neo Star 9 says in the chat that supports what you're saying too.
Oh, excellent. He says, I get the impression she was learning how to not be so Vulcan in the past, and that had to be done first. Also, the progress got reset, most likely. Yeah, true. True. But I think that she still came out of this knowing more about herself, even if she didn't remember all of the loops. Because even if she doesn't remember them, Stamets remembers them. And he was sure to tell Ash about the kissing. Oh, yeah. Definitely wanted to make sure of that. So, yeah, I love this episode. I think it's the best bottle episode of a series that I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And I just every week it just keeps bringing it, and I'm ready for more every time. And when it goes on hiatus, I'm going to be sad during those fallow weeks.
It is a good bottle episode. I think Tilly would agree that she enjoyed the bottle quite a bit.
You know, she was not so drunk that she didn't know what she was doing.
Yep.
And she was responsible drunk.
Yeah, she wasn't falling down drunk.
No.
So
I think the guy kind of moved in for the kiss, and she was like,
Mm-hmm.
So it was nice to see that.
Yeah, she was not impaired in that respect. We do have one final comment here on the YouTube chat from Just Tuned In, saying she believed her human half had failed her in the past and has fought against it. The only goal worth pursuing was Starfleet's success. When she loses that, she is able to see what else she has to offer. That is a very good point.
Yeah, that's an
excellent point. Yes. All right, then. So let's just wrap things up here with my weekly reading of the things. So be sure to check out our Discovery coverage throughout the week. Live from the Edge airs on Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern and will be released as a podcast on Tuesday mornings. Our commentary will be available as Tracks from the Edge on Wednesday. We will discuss your feedback on Postcards from the Edge on Wednesday. On Thursday. I'm sorry, Amy. Please forgive me. And you can catch full analysis on The Edge main show on Friday. And then to wrap up the week, join us for Notes from the Edge on Saturday with our own Chris Jones for links between Discovery and the broader franchise. And I'm going to say it again. Please listen to that podcast. It's so good. You'll find all of these in the main feed for The Edge and in the Trek.fm master feed. So now we would love to hear your thoughts on Discovery. I'm going to do this like a vampire. The best place to do that is the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook, where Amy Nelson will collect your feedback towards the postcards from the Edge. You can also find us on Twitter at TrekFM or send us email using the contact form on our website at trek.fm/contact. Choose to send to a show and choose the Edge. I'm so sorry. We would also like to thank all of our associate producers, who are Norman Seelau, Tony Robinson, Thomas Paleo, Lisa Slack, Shoab Mirza, and Richard Rutledge. And if you would like to keep all of these shows going with your help and even become an AP, associate producer for those not in the know, then visit patreon.com/TrekFM for all of the details.
Wow. Now I know why you like doing the ending.
It's so much fun.
Because you do all kinds of voices and things when you do it.
Well,
I feel like someday you're going to show up and do it all in Klingon.
Oh.
Oh, I gotta get in contact with my friend and see if she can translate it all for me. No, she's got enough on her plate. I'm not going to bother her. I'm just going to go to Google Translate and put it on Klingon and see what I can do.
You can do it. It's a challenge. She must do it now.
But the pronunciation is what's going to be the problem.
You can ask Robin. You can ask Canada Aviatrix.
I know. She's the person I was thinking of.
Yep.
So, yeah, she's awesome. So, Heather, thank you so much for being here tonight. It's been a true pleasure.
Yes.
And I hope you had a good time.
I did. I love talking about Discovery. I try to hop on all the, I get around. I try to go on all of them so I can just talk all week. I'm like, watch this. It's like Sunday, watch Discovery, take notes on Discovery, Monday through Saturday, talk about Discovery all over the internet and podcast land, and then just watch Discovery again. It's the best.
Fantastic. So tell everyone about all the places we can find you besides The Edge.
Oh, all the fun places. So, okay, on Twitter, my personal handle is LLAPosper. I do 2 different podcasts on there. You can find us at disco_trek is our Discovery podcast. And then Shore Leave, all one word, is our other convention-centric podcast. The main show is Tricorder Show. And then you can find us on the tricordertransmissions.com or shoreleavepodcast.com.
Okay, so you guys have no excuse for not seeking her out. Come on. That's plenty of places to go.
I love Friends. I love to talk about Star Trek. So follow me on Twitter. We'll talk about Star Trek all day long.
Excellent. Bruce, where can people find you?
Well, I'm glad you asked. So, do I have to do voices and stuff? I mean, I feel like...
No.
Okay. Well, you can find me on here on the network on Literary Treks with Dan Gunther talking about the Star Trek books and comics. You can also find me also here on The Edge doing live, which I'm doing now. And you can find me talking Star Wars on the Star Wars Report podcast. That's at starwarsreport.com with Riley Blanton and Mark Herleman. And you can always find me in the Babel Conference, and I'm on Twitter at Admiral_Rex.
Fantastic. And as always, you can always find me just kind of bumping in and out of the Babel Conference. Some work days are harder than others, so sometimes I'm silent for a while. That's why, because work. And I'm Brandywine12 on Twitter. That's BRANDIWINE 12 on Twitter. And I also do a podcast with my husband Dave called the Dark Corner Podcast, where we look at life and pop culture through a darker lens. There is swearing. You've been warned. We're the spooky podcast.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that's why I had to do the Dracula voices, because by the time this comes out as a podcast, it'll be Halloween. So,
I didn't wear a costume. I totally should have worn a costume for this.
I'm in half a costume. Tomorrow my hair is going to be much more teased up. There's going to be a lot more makeup and a very 80s goth chick vibe going on.
Love it.
All right.
I think I'm going to be a bloody mummy or something. I don't know.
Sweet. I love being covered in fake blood. It is so much fun. I know that sounds weird, but it has happened to me in a zombie sketch show. So anyway.
So wait, you like to be covered in fake blood. You worked for an airline. You worked at a bookstore, and you're a zombie reporter. I've learned so much about you tonight, Brandi.
So many things. So,
and Heather got a shout out by Anthony Rapp for her show, Disco Trek.
Oh man, the biggest thing is I just wanted him to know that, you know, we as fans have his back. It's been a rough week for him.
Oh yeah.
He came out last night, pretty much. The news broke that he had been sexually assaulted by another very well-known actor. Drama. I made a point in our last episode to just say that, you know, we're behind you 100%. And the fact that he listened and he heard that just means the world to me. I mean, very humbled by his attention, and I'm glad that he hears us, because we are the Shroom Army.
We are. And honestly, he has been talking about this since the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like he's never said anything about it until now. So all of those haters, they're like, oh yeah, you're so brave for waiting 30 years. No, he didn't.
Yeah.
Okay, do your research.
No. And even if somebody did, I'll just, you know, I have a very similar history there, and it took me 15 years. So time doesn't even matter regardless when that's an issue. But we love him. We love all of them. We love all of the actors. We appreciate the fact that they are so engaging with us, and we want to continue to have them engage with us. So shout outs to Anthony Rapp. We love you. We got your back, and we'll keep fighting for you.
Absolutely.
Always. So that is it for this week's Live from the Edge. So there's only a couple of things left to say. The first one is keep calm and disco on. And the second is live long and prosper. Bye, everybody.